Hello, my name is Abigail, and my life has been a series of challenges. I've always been a hard worker, growing up in difficult circumstances and juggling low-paying jobs before finally finding one that offered stability. College wasn't an option for me due to financial constraints, but I never lost focus on building a steady life. That's when I met Joseph, my husband. We worked together, and after he got a job transfer, we started dating. I thought he truly cared for me, and that's why I said yes when he proposed. When Joseph hit a rough patch in his career, I supported him without hesitation, even taking on the responsibility of managing our bills. But my world shattered when I discovered that Joseph had been having an affair for an entire year. When I confronted him, he didn't show an ounce of remorse. Despite the betrayal, I hesitated to divorce him because of our son, Paul. He begged me to keep the family together, and torn between my own pain and Paul's pleas, I gave Joseph another chance. He promised to end the affair, and for a brief time, it seemed like things were getting better, but then I found out he went right back to the same woman. Even though I was furious, I stayed for Paul's sake. Over time, Paul became my main support. He chose not to go to college after high school, opting to start working instead, and I stood by him, determined to help. Joseph eventually found a job at a newly opened restaurant, and for the first time in a while, I felt a glimmer of hope. I was proud of Paul for landing his job at the same place, but just as I began to feel like things were turning around, everything came crashing down. The day before Paul was supposed to sign his work contract, he and Joseph blindsided me. They sat me down, and Joseph, with no emotion in his voice, said, "Abigail, now that Paul is 20, there are no more custody concerns. Here are the divorce papers, along with an eviction notice. I want you out of the house." I couldn't believe it. What kind of betrayal is this, Joseph? You can't just spring this on me. This is absurd, I shouted, but what hurt the most was when Paul, my own son, turned against me too. "Mom, we don't need you anymore," Paul said coldly. "The only thing you were good for was money. Dad doesn't want you here, and neither do I. I've got a job now, so you're not necessary anymore." It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. My own son, who had once begged me to stay with Joseph, now wanted me gone. Joseph smirked, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "Look at that, Abigail, even your son's ready to kick you out. Guess you weren't such a great mom after all." I was desperate to understand. "Paul, how can you say this? Why do you want me gone? What did I do to deserve this?" "You're just annoying," Paul spat back. "Dad's girlfriend is way better than you. She knows how to have fun and be a parent. All you ever did was nag me to study. I'd rather call her Mom. She's pretty, she's fun, and she's rich. She promised me everything when she's gone. You've got nothing." I was speechless. Joseph's mistress wasn't just his lover, she was set to marry him and adopt Paul. They gushed about her like she was some savior, while I sat there, numb with shock and betrayal. Joseph continued, his tone businesslike, "So, we'll make this a clean break, Abigail. Paul's an adult now, so there's no need for child support. We'll just part ways quietly." I looked at them, stunned. "Is that all I was to you? Just a paycheck? Am I that replaceable?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I stood by you through everything, Joseph, and Paul. I sacrificed so much for you. Is this what I get in return?" The tears came then, uncontrollably. They laughed, both of them, as if my heartbreak was nothing but a joke. I had always known Joseph was cold, but to hear my own son dismiss me so easily, it was unbearable. For years, I had cared for them, supported them, and now they were casting me aside like I meant nothing. But as they laughed, something shifted inside me. Their cruelty ignited a fire in me. I wouldn't let them define my worth. They thought they could break me, but I'd prove them wrong. I walked out of the room and headed upstairs, leaving Paul and Joseph behind, still discussing their plans. Joseph had just handed me divorce papers and an eviction notice. Thinking he no longer needed me or my money, I took a moment to process it all, then returned downstairs, calm and composed. "You want a divorce, Joseph, and you want me out of the house?" I said, my voice steady. "Fine, I'll make it happen. I'll call my lawyer, and he'll be here soon. You might want to contact yours to finalize everything, since it seems like you've already made up your mind. But let me be clear, this house is jointly owned. I have just as much right to it as you do. I won't be leaving without my fair share. I bought this house with my money, and you don't have a claim to any of it." Paul, looking frustrated, chimed in, Mom, why are you being so selfish? If you take half the house, I'll lose my inheritance. Dad can't afford to buy you out, and we might have to sell it. Isn't that a bit much? I turned to him, keeping my voice even. Paul, I had no idea you cared so much about this house. I'm willing to compromise. I won't take half, but Joseph has to agree to give up alimony and drop any legal claims against me in the divorce. Joseph scoffed. Fine, Abigail, I don't need your money anyway. Besides, my girlfriend is more than capable of taking care of us. Shortly after, my lawyer arrived, followed by Joseph's. We went over the terms, and as promised, Joseph waived alimony. He seemed smug, sharing satisfied looks with Paul, but I kept my face neutral, refusing to let my anger or hurt show. The papers were signed quickly since there were no custody or child support issues now that Paul was an adult. I was relieved, knowing I wouldn't have to deal with someone who had turned his back on his own mother. Once the papers were finalized, the lawyers left, and the deal was done. I hurried upstairs, locked myself in my room, and called my best friend, Kayla. Is it over, Abigail? Did you both sign the papers? She asked, her voice filled with anticipation. Yes, it's done, I replied. Joseph didn't put up a fight. He agreed to let it all go. That's amazing. Just a little longer, and you'll be free. We can finally put all of this behind you, Kayla cheered. I smiled for the first time that day. Exactly. I can't wait to leave this place and be done with Joseph and Paul for good. How about you, Kayla? Have you sorted everything out on your end? Kayla's voice was full of reassurance. Definitely, Abigail. No one gets away with disrespecting my best friend. You've got nothing to worry about. I'm going to teach your ungrateful son a lesson. Just leave it to me at work tomorrow, Kayla promised, her voice filled with determination. Encouraged by her words, I made up my mind to move in with her the very next day. As I packed downstairs, I overheard Joseph eagerly confiding in his secret partner, thrilled about his newfound freedom. Little did they know that their joy would soon turn to regret. Before consulting my lawyer, I shared everything with Kayla. Outraged by the situation, she vowed to help me and graciously offered me a place to stay. She also had a surprise in store for both Joseph and Paul. The next morning, Paul left for work in high spirits, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. Whistling cheerfully, he hopped into his car and drove off. Meanwhile, I loaded my belongings into my trunk and left the house as well. After dropping off my things at Kayla's place, we headed to the restaurant where Paul had recently started his new job. When we arrived, we overheard Paul shouting at the staff. As soon as he noticed us, he fell silent. I greeted him with a smile, asking casually, "Is everything okay here at your new job?" Paul, visibly annoyed, dismissed my question, saying it was none of my business. He explained he was waiting for a meeting with the owner to resolve some issues with the staff. I reassured him that I wouldn't interfere, adding jokingly, "Don't worry, I won't butt in." Paul, still irritated, snapped back, saying it was his workplace, and whatever problems he had were between him and his employer. He told us to mind our own business and declared that he had work to do, unlike us. Kayla and I burst into laughter. Even the restaurant staff struggled to maintain their professionalism. Embarrassed, Paul scolded us for laughing and went on to praise his dad's girlfriend, comparing her favorably to us. He even accused Kayla of gossiping about him with me. Kayla, now composed, smiled slyly and said, "Well, Paul, there's something you should know. This restaurant, it's mine." Paul's face drained of color as the realization hit him. "What? That's not possible," he stammered. "You're just a homemaker. How could you possibly own a place like this?" Ignoring his disbelief, Kayla calmly explained, "When my husband passed away, I inherited a significant amount of money. Instead of sitting around, I invested it, and I bought this restaurant last year. It used to be a small cafe, but I expanded it." Paul, still in denial, accused her of making up the story, but Kayla challenged him. "Ask anyone here, they'll confirm it." Paul glanced around, and to his shock, the staff nodded in agreement. They knew exactly who the owner was. Realizing his mistake, Paul tried to backtrack. "Wow, Kayla, that's impressive. I guess I'll be working for you then." But Kayla wasn't having it. "Hold on, Paul, I've had a change of heart. Even though I offered you the job, I don't think I want someone like you on my team. The person who hired you didn't know you like I do, but I do now. I don't want someone who doesn't appreciate what they have working for me." Paul panicked, realizing his mistake. "Wait, Kayla, There's been a misunderstanding. I'm a hard worker. Your team hired me because they saw my potential. I'll do my best, I promise. Kayla remained unimpressed. Paul, I've known you for 20 years. You've never pulled your weight at home, and you've barely gained any real work experience. This job wasn't about you wanting to work. It was about impressing your dad's girlfriend. You've treated your mother terribly, and now you expect me to trust you. Sorry, Paul, but I can't hire you. We didn't sign a contract, so consider the offer withdrawn. I'll find someone else easily. Kayla's words cut through the room like a knife, and the restaurant staff exchanged disapproving glances. Paul, realizing he was losing everything, turned to me in desperation. Mom, why aren't you saying anything? Please, talk to Kayla, tell her I'll do a good job. I stood there, watching Paul plead, but this time, I wasn't going to save him. It was time for him to face the consequences of his actions. Why should I, Paul? I replied, my voice firm. You chose your dad's mistress over me. You're no son of mine. This is your karma, and Kayla's assessment is spot on. I won't interfere. You're ungrateful, and it's hard to trust someone like that. There's no reason anyone should offer you a job. Paul lost his temper, his true self emerging as he started hurling hurtful words at me. His anger was so intense that one of his co-workers pulled out her phone, ready to call for help. Despite his insults, Kayla remained calm. You think you can treat me like this without consequences? Paul shouted. Just wait, I'll find a job, and then my stepmom will buy this place. I'll ruin you. Kayla smiled, unfazed. Do you really believe your stepmom will purchase my business? Oh, Paul, you're quite amusing. She doesn't have a penny to her name. You're as gullible as your dad. She told you exactly what you wanted to hear, and you didn't even bother to check the facts. Your new stepmom is broke, Paul. Paul shook his head in disbelief. That's not possible. You're just jealous because she's prettier and wealthier than you. Kayla's expression didn't change. When I found out your dad was cheating, I told Abigail, and we did some digging. Turns out, your dad's other woman is living off him. She's been pretending to be wealthy, but she's just after his money. Her plan? Make you work, trap your dad into marriage, and then live off both of your incomes. It was like watching lightning strike. Paul stood there, stunned, struggling to accept what we were telling him. Even though everything we said made sense, he couldn't fully grasp it. We encouraged him to investigate for himself, and he left, determined to uncover the truth. In the following days, Paul turned to Joseph, and together they tried to find out more. Unfortunately, they fell for the lies of someone they thought they could trust. While that was happening, I arranged a court date to finalize the divorce, setting into motion our 8-month separation. During that time, Joseph, unable to accept the truth, went ahead and married the woman he'd been cheating with. Under her influence, he even abandoned his own son. Paul, facing one hardship after another, eventually came to me for help. His dad had kicked him out, and with no real work experience, he was struggling to find a decent job. On top of that, he was dealing with threats from his dad's new wife. Desperate, he wanted to reconcile and come back home. I told him he needed to fix the mess he created before coming back to me. Now, he's working at Walmart and sharing an apartment with 3 roommates. As for Joseph, he's come to realize the truth about his new wife's financial situation. He knows we were right and is stuck in a miserable marriage. He's been messaging me, asking for another chance. I don't plan on giving him that. Instead, I'm considering buying his house, which is on the market, to help clear the debts his new wife racked up on her credit cards. What do you think? I'd really appreciate your input.